Most Aussies think their mortgage is just this giant never-ending debt that eats up all their cash flow. But what if I told you the very same debt dragging you down could actually be recycled into an investment machine that builds long-term wealth? Today, I'm going to show you how debt recycling really works, with real numbers, real tax impacts, and the step that almost everyone misses. And it could cost you tens of thousands if you get it wrong. I'll even show you a case where one family shaved 7 years off their mortgage and are now in a position to purchase an investment property worth $1 million just by applying debt recycling the right way. I'll reveal that full breakdown later in the video, so pay close attention. All right, let's get stuck into it. Debt recycling. It sounds complicated, may be even a bit technical, but at its core, it's a strategy that can transform bad debt, like your home loan, which isn't tax deductible, into good debt that is tax deductible, while at the same time helping you grow a portfolio of income producing assets. And when I say good debt, I'm not talking about racking up another credit card. I'm talking about investment debt that you can leverage into property or shares. That's when debt becomes a wealth building tool rather than a burden. In today's breakdown, I'm going to walk you step by step through 1, how debt recycling actually works, using real numbers and Australian rules. 2, the benefits and risks, because yes, this is powerful, but it's not for everyone. And 3, a real life example of a Melbourne couple who used it to accelerate their property portfolio and build wealth much faster than just paying down their mortgage. By the end, you should have a clear framework to see if debt recycling could be part of your property strategy, and I'll show you exactly what to avoid so you don't get stung by the tax office. So, why this matters in Australia today? The average Australian mortgage now sits over $620,000. Most people will keep paying it down over 25 to 30 years, shoveling interest into the bank along the way, and by retirement age, they might only own their home with a little bit left over or nothing on the investment side. So with debt recycling, it flips that on its head. Instead of pouring every spare cent into your mortgage, you set up a cycle. Pay down part of the loan, redraw or reborrow, invest that into an income producing asset. That income and tax deductions from that investment then help you reduce the mortgage faster, while the investments themselves, they start growing. So you're essentially attacking your mortgage and building an investment portfolio in parallel. So what's step 1? Understanding the difference between good and bad debt. Let's start simple. Bad debt is debt that gives you no tax benefits and it doesn't generate income. Your home loan is the classic example. You live in your home or your PPOR, your principal place of residence, but the interest you pay is not deductible. It's just money gone. Good debt, on the other hand, is debt used to buy income-producing assets. That's properties, shares, managed funds. The interest here is typically deductible, meaning the tax office helps subsidize your borrowing costs. Debt recycling is all about moving money off the bad debt into good debt without upping your overall debt level. So you're basically restructuring, not just adding more. Step 2, how the mechanics work. Let me give you some actual numbers so this doesn't feel abstract. Say you've got $600,000 on a mortgage at 6%. Your repayments are eating up $36,000 in interest alone. Pretty tough, right? Now, let's say you're disciplined. Every year you manage to pay an extra $20,000 off the mortgage. Normally, that just reduces the balance, which is good, but it doesn't generate income. With debt recycling, instead of leaving that $20,000 sitting there, you set up a split loan. You redraw or reborrow that 20 grand and invest it, say into a portfolio of ETFs or just domestic shares. These pay about 4% in dividends. So now that 20 grand is generating about $800 in cash dividends. And because those dividends are typically come franked, you're also getting tax credits. And here's the kicker. The interest on that 20 grand loan is deductible. So over time, you keep recycling that process. Each year, 20K extra goes into the mortgage. You also reborrow that 20K to invest again. After 5 years, you now have 100K invested, producing $4,000 a year in dividends, maybe more with franking credits, all while your deductible debt is building. Meanwhile, your non-deductible home loan is shrinking, faster than if you left things idle. Now, step 3, what are the real tax impacts? So, because this is where the debt recycling really shines, with your ordinary home loan, the interest is not deductible. End of story. But when you recycle it into investments, the interest becomes deductible. Let's continue with that 100K example from earlier. So 100K after 5 years, interest at 6%, that's $6,000 a year. But because it's investment related, you can offset that against the $4,000 dividends and potential other income. If you're on 37% marginal tax rate, that deduction saves you about $2,220 in tax. Combine that with franking credits on the dividends, and suddenly your portfolio is almost cost neutral in terms of cash flow. So not only are you building an investment base, but the tax system's helping you cover the costs along the way. Of course, disclaimer here, I'm not giving you personal financial advice. You should speak with your own advisor and tax accountant because this strategy depends on your risk tolerance, your income, and your own financial situation. With that out of the way, step 4. Let's look at the case study. So that Melbourne family from earlier, let me show you how this looks in real life. So James and Sarah, Aussie couple in Melbourne East, early 30s, mortgage of about 700K on their family home in Burwood. Combined incomes about 160. Instead of just putting all their surplus into the mortgage, they set up a debt recycling plan. Each year they tip 25 grand extra off the home loan, reborrowed it, and invested into a mix of ETFs and shares. Fast forward 7 years, they've recycled 175K. That portfolio with dividends reinvested had grown to over 230. Their non-deductible mortgage was down to just under 500, but they had over 230 working for them, producing dividends, generating tax deductions, and opening the door for future property purchases. The result? They shaved about 7 years off their mortgage, and they're now on track to buy an investment property, partly funded by the equity they've built and the 230 in investments. Now, I've got to be upfront here. Debt recycling, it is powerful, but it's not a silver bullet. If you invest into shares or property, there's market risk. Shares can fall. Property values can stagnate. You need to be able to hold long term. There's also the interest rate risk. If rates rise, your costs increase. Now, always stress test your numbers. Make sure you are in a position that you can afford to allow for a bit of a buffer should rates rise. And finally, mixing up personal expenses and deductible loan splits can land you in hot water with the ATO. You need a clean, separate loan so your splits are clear. What is your PPY debt? What is your investment debt? Everything can be proven, whether it's investment or personal related. Now, if you're finding this breakdown helpful and it's opening your eyes to how much faster you could shrink your mortgage using smart debt strategies, make sure you hit the like button on this video. It helps us reach more Aussies who need this education, and don't forget to subscribe because I'm covering advanced property finance strategies every single week. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, this sounds amazing, but how do I set this up without messing it up, without the banks or ensuring the tax office, is on my back? Well, that's exactly where our strategy sessions come in. We sit down with you, look at your current mortgage, your income, your situation, your investment goals, and actually map out where the debt recycling fits your situation. So if you want a personalized game plan, click the link below, book a free strategy session with us, and let's run the numbers together. Now, in the next video, I'm going to show you exactly how to use this kind of portfolio, shares and income, as a springboard into your very first investment property without waiting 10 or 15 years for equity to slowly build. That's where the real acceleration happens. So make sure you subscribe because you won't want to miss that one.